Now, I don't know about you guys, but it has become quite apparent that Lucasfilm is in an ongoing struggle with everything ranging from their upcoming Star Wars movies to the Star Wars TV shows on Disney+, and given that a lot of Disney executives right now are really banking on Star Wars Ahsoka being the home run for Disney+ Star Wars, that really is going to be a 50-50 chance, maybe even worse, than that ratio-wise, depending on exactly how this actual show flows and resonates with the fans. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, we know that Lucasfilm is going under a lot of changes right now. As part of Bob Iger's cost containment plan, we're going to be talking about exactly what's going on with the financial situation over at Lucasfilm and what it really means for upcoming Star Wars projects. And let's face it, we know that a lot of momentum has been lost with Star Wars right now. A lot of hype among the fans has been non-existent because of what happened with Mando Season 3 that really kind of hit fans hard, let's be honest here. I mean, nobody really expected that because Mando Season 1 and 2, were really impressive, or at the very least, for those that were skeptic about it, were entertaining at best. Now, when you look at stuff like this, we know that IGER and the board are making very bad decisions moving forward, when in reality, the real solution is to cut the nonsense and just embrace common sense. That's all that needs to be done, but that's not how Disney thinks, that's not how Bob Iger thinks. So let's get into exactly what's going on with, of course, Lucasfilm and Disney Star Wars and why it's not looking good for at least the next 2 years. Let's discuss here. Now, with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy dealing with many more issues related to the Star Wars franchise due to the Indy 5 box office collapse, one crucial development has to do with the current situation with Lucasfilm right now. Bob Iger's cost containment plan was recently finalized and is creating much trouble for Lucasfilm TV shows and movies right now as they are planning out their Lucasfilm purge. One update to all of this is that the financial situation with Lucasfilm is said to be very severe to the point that they are looking and discussing on canceling the entire Dawn of the Jedi movie by creator James Mangold and to rethink their plans for a new film instead to take its place with a revised story that would fit the smaller scale technique for the actual story to reduce spending, by also getting rid of Mangold in the mix. Funding for the new Rey movie is also now getting massive cutbacks, where the budget was actually reportedly planned to be around $300 million on point before, now dwindling down to $215 million, as Disney is forcing writer Stephen Knight to make revisions to the script to tighten up the story to also making it smaller scale. Now, let me just stop here because we're not done yet. Now, there's more to this that we're going to talk about in 1 second, but what's interesting about this is how they want to ditch the idea of the Dawn of the Jedi movie and ditching James Mangold as the creator of a Star Wars film. Now, I don't know about you guys, but would you trust James Mangold handling a Star Wars movie after what happened with Indiana Jones 5? That's something that I would love to hear from you all below in the comments. Maybe I'm going to run a poll on Twitter about that later. I'll think about that. But what's interesting is that they're also cutting back funding or budgeting for the Rey movie. So from 300 mil down to a reported 215 million makes a lot of sense, given that this movie really is not anything exciting, to be honest. I mean, it's a wrong call to begin with. Why in the world would Disney start their first Star Wars film? And yes, the Rey movie is intended to be the first Star Wars film since The Rise of Skywalker. Why in the world would they embrace that, coming out of the sequel trilogy that has gotten so much fan criticism? This is exactly what I mean of how Disney has no idea what Star Wars fans want, or they're very much fully aware about the negative criticism and they just flat out don't care at all. I think that the latter is honestly the more believable route here. But moving onwards, this is where things get a lot more complex because this also impacts all the upcoming shows. We know that the Mandoverse is getting restructured. It's forcing John and Dave to really rethink and kind of just brainstorm other ideas instead. They really can't quite do what they wanted to do with Mando Season 4 because of Bob Iger and the board placing all these limitations to really kind of keep Lucasfilm afloat after what happened with Solo and now Indiana Jones 5. So, the next thing is that in addition to this, Disney is looking to firing tons of employees at Lucasfilm, starting by January of 2024 and progressing until 2025 at the end of that year, to also reduce spending on the company. This will include cast members, crew, and creators. The smaller scale projects are their way of justifying the smaller crew to work on said projects by not needing as many people working on said, of course, Star Wars material. Bob Iger is looking for a full recovery with Lucasfilm and Disney by 2026 if they keep this actually up, and that the 2-year cap and budgeting limitations are believed by the Disney board to aid in the ongoing issues that were caused by multiple box office failures at Disney and poor marketing decisions by Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm. Creators Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are also resetting the Mandoverse slate as part of the Disney change-up to reduce spending. This is also drastically reducing the number of announcements at this year's D23 event. Now, for those of you that don't know, D23 is upcoming in this September. There were rumblings out there, by the way, that they would be canceling this event entirely. I'm not quite sure how accurate that is. So far, it's still a go. But it's sold out. They're celebrating 100 years of Disney there, and they're going to announce a lot of projects. Not a lot, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, all Disney, if you want to look at it that way, yeah, there will be a lot. But for Star Wars, it's going to be very limited this year. You're not going to get all that many announcements for Disney Plus, and not that many updates regarding the movies either. They initially were going to announce 3 more movies that has now been X'd out until 2024 as they rethink their whole slate of the franchise. So it's not looking good. The fact that these limitations are drastically impacting John and Dave's efforts, as well as Lucasfilm's efforts to develop more high-budget Star Wars projects, whether it be a show or a movie, it doesn't matter. This is just going to show you that there's a lot of things happening right now. And even the High Republic books, they're not doing well at sales at all. Bob Iger is looking to cancel that out as well. More on that later this week as well. But what's interesting about this further is the fact that Kathleen Kennedy really was the one that kickstarted all of this, let's be honest. If it weren't for Kathleen Kennedy doing what she did to the sequels, with Indiana Jones 5, with Solo, and let alone all of the premature announcements that never came out to be or never came to fruition, Lucasfilm wouldn't have a real bad rap. It's all Kathleen Kennedy at the end of the day. To a degree, yes, but if you really want to get specific, really get down to the nitty-gritty, it's really the Disney shareholders, the top shareholders. Yes, we're looking at you, BlackRock, and Vanguard. They are the ones that have contributed to this entire mess at Disney. They are the ones that are investing and, of course, encouraging the board members to move forward with all of this nonsense. So it's a real tough thing to break, and hopefully one day Disney will stop messing with pop culture. But anyway, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.